Lords of Apathy. So we did a video, GOAT, greatest of all time, of
Rappers,
rappers, and that was it.
hip
Got
hop artists.
hip hop artists, rap performers, if you will. That didn't necessarily go very far, just because of there's just so many intricacies in it. There's a lot to consider, especially with time. It's a thing. It's just a revolving door of who's holding the crown. But I decided, given a conversation I was having the other day at work, that we should do one on comedy. And I'm getting more and more in the comedy just because of podcasts I'm listening to. With
Because of me.
yeah, sure, because of Cedric, whatever. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Billy Burr, fucking Rogan, obviously. Appreciate. I love comedians in car getting coffee. Seinfeld, take him or leave him. He loves the art of it. He appreciates the art. He's an artist of it.
All right.
But yeah. Anyway, we want to talk about. We'll do the same thing. Maybe our top five, regardless, no matter if we like them or not, and then our top five that we just prefer, whether they're in that list or not. So why don't I give the mic to you and let you say what you got to say about it.
Well, I'll start with my top five. My top five: Paul Mooney, Red Fox, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Eddie Murphy.
Make sure there's your five right there. That's your
my top five.
Your top five favorite.
My
sure
top five favorite.
Make sure you get in the
I,
mic.
my voice. I assure you, once we record and listen to it, it's all there. So yeah, that's my top five favorite. That's my top five of all time. Is that would be everybody's? No. I feel like I came off of a few white comics, and then I got really deep into the black comics, and then the coming of age, like let's say Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy had like what three great stand-up shows, or I think it was maybe two, Delirious and Raw, that I've ever seen, and then I've like listened to him in a few stand-ups, but he's just two, but he's still in my top five because he's the one of the dudes I came of age. His setup from beginning to end, and it's just swagger on the stage. So that's why I put Eddie Murphy up there. Red Fox works every and any crowd. You know what I'm saying? Just like Richard Pryor. Paul Mooney, he's on some extra special shit, but he's on his own thing, but he knows how to talk to the crowd. And Paul Mooney is one of the first comics I've ever seen that just, where he gets his energy, it's not just making people laugh, but it's also making people uncomfortable. And to expand my 10, I started there because that was the older clique, but to expand, one dude that did that in a great way was Patrice O'Neal.
Yeah.
Just made people feel uncomfortable in regard to the truth. And I'll give another dude who's been doing it for years. I'm talking about decades, 3 decades and plus, is T.K. Kirkland. But like I said, I kind of came of age in regards to the black comics. I'll give a lot of white comics their due because even before the black comics, I saw the white comics like George Carlin. Seinfeld came within it, but Seinfeld, he just had a great. In regards to, like, let's say people do basketball, people do football, people do certain things, and they have a great IQ within that field. Seinfeld had a great IQ. He looked at the regular, tedious, mundane shit, and he broke that shit down. That's what I got to say in regards to my top five.
Yeah, so I think that's I think a big it's tough to consider because it's like, well, we just talking stand up or we're talking about the influence they just had with making people laugh. You know?
See, that's the thing.
I was thinking stand up. You know what
Now
I mean?
we can't just talk about stand up because we think of comedians. Come on, we have to put in.
Seinfeld's the greatest sitcom of all time, and
Seinfeld is one of the greatest stand-ups of all time.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's the thing. When I think of so many, I kind of go into the Joe Rogan shit. Every comedian he has on, one of the greatest comedians of all time, greatest comedians ever, because it all just depends on the mood that they give you and the mood that you feel.
I think there's credit to give to certain people like Joe Rogan in himself. He is a stand-up comedian, right?
That's what he started
he
as,
loves the art
in my
of it.
opinion.
I personally, I haven't checked out Joe Rogan stand-up. I'm in no rush. I don't look to Joe Rogan for fucking funny. I look at him because I think he's the greatest, one of the greatest podcasters of all time.
Oh,
I
that's-
look at him as a source of motivation. But like, I'll check him out. But it's like what
That's
he
the
does.
wave you caught him
What?
in.
Right, but I'm not dismissing what you said of how you approach things. I'm just
No,
telling you how I
no,
feel.
no. Yeah. I get
And
it.
I'm not, and there's, I'm not dissing Joe Rogan in any means. And I think with that, what he has in common with Seinfeld is, I can't name a stand up from either of them, but the way they've approached it and dissect the art and what they do for the art is bigger than what some of the funniest guys do for it. Like they give a platform for other artists. They create shows where you can talk about the art, and that's huge. That is
Well,
mega fucking big.
I'll be honest,
because it's not just someone turning on the show. Because it's like, what is making you laugh? Is it the joke? Is it the physicality? Is it the voice? Like they're
I
really
think that's all
showing you.
personal. I think that's all personal. I think it's great
Right.
that people like Joe Rogan can pull in people, Kevin Hart can pull in people, but
Yeah.
I feel like is just a byproduct of them being great comedians. They're on a platform now, so they can pull in people or comedians that are like-minded, or people or comedians that they want to give a platform to. But I really don't care about that. When I think of Joe Rogan, I appreciate the fact that he brings in a lot of different comedians, because then that opens my whole mind into a bunch of different comedians. But when I think of Joe Rogan, I think about the shit that he says, the shit that he does, his stand-up experience, and his comedy. Even in his comedy and news radio. Like, this is the thing. We can't just hold it to stand-up. We have to look at television. We have to look at movies. There are comedians that, like, I've really never seen too many stand-ups, or they just got more movies than stand-ups. Eddie Murphy is one of them.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of comedians that, like Kevin Hart, who's genius in stand up. His movies are trash. I can't think of one fucking good Kevin Hart movie. It's just like, and it's just
Well,
like,
he's a comedian. Like, you know what?
Yeah.
One movie that was terrible, but I loved because of Kevin Hart. Soul Plane.
you know
That was
what,
a
man?
garbage
It might
movie.
be a black thing, but that movie's fucking stupid. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's stupid. It's
Yeah.
garbage. But Kevin Hart? Oh, man, that's the comedy that he does on stand-up.
it's
That's great. The movie was terrible.
You know who's one I want
I'll
to
never
throw
get
in
that.
there? Speaking of like when it comes to like movies and shows, is God fucking damn it! Why the fuck am I forgetting his name? I think he may have discovered Chappelle. The guy's older than Jesus right now. Mel Brooks. His movies are genius. Was he ever a stand-up though?
I wouldn't say he discovered Dave Chappelle, but
He put him on.
Yeah, he put him on.
What was that? Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yeah, yeah.
Like History of the World with Gregory Hines.
Mel Brooks,
Oh my
Mel Brooks,
God.
Mel Brooks, yeah.
Fucking
I
hilarious.
can't even.
And some of his new movies
I've
actually
never
annoy
seen-
me.
If there is a Mel Brooks stand up, I've never seen
Yeah.
it. I've never
I
I
never
knew
heard
Mel
of it.
Brooks through his movies, and those were great. Mel Brooks, even before that, those British dudes.
Monty Python.
Monty Python.
Yeah, it's the same.
Come on.
It's the same shit. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So this
Fucking
is why
Rowan Atkinson.
this is
Mr.
why-
Bean. Yeah, all those guys.
This is why we can't even put a GOC. We can't put a GOAT of comedy. We can't.
Yeah.
We can't. We can look at Richard Pryor, but Richard Pryor, we can look at like his stand-up,
Wow.
the nuance that he had in regards to his relationship between the crowd and all. But
You're gonna have a hard time if you don't say Richard Pryor is the greatest stand-up of all time. You're gonna have a.
yeah, but I'm
That'd
talking
be
about
an
greatest
uphill
comedian
bill.
of all time.
It's still, regardless, that's gonna be a fucking uphill
He
battle.
he hit a lot of different genres, but even Richard Pryor had people that he looked up to that he came from.
For sure. And look at this guys like
Paul Mooney.
Paul
He didn't look up to. They were colleagues, but he got a lot from him. Paul Mooney. Let's even look at it on a writer's standpoint. The writers of the comedians that were going, especially with the sketch comedy.
Witherspoon's in there too. He came up with them, right?
Oh yeah. Witherspoon came up with them. Oh man. So let's think of sketch comedy. Let's think of In Living Color.
That
The Wayans brothers.
that's
Not just the comedy they performed, but the comedy that they fucking wrote.
let's name the names that came out of that real quick.
Oh, out of Living Color.
Jamie Foxx,
Jamie Foxx.
Damon Wayans, Marlon Wayans, Sean Wayans, Jim Carrey,
The one, Jim
Tommy
Carrey, white guy,
Davidson.
right?
Yeah.
Tommy Davidson.
Davidson.
I don't even know all of them.
David Allen Greer. Oh, that shit him and
Yeah.
Damon Wayans did. That's
Not
gonna
just comedy. Jennifer Lopez.
That's one of yeah, right. That's one of the that's
That was
gonna be
just
one of those things though, if you bring up Damon Wayans or David Allen Greer or in Living Color, that thing Men on Movies, that shit where they
Men
did
on
that
Film.
gay skit with the snapper on the
Men
that
on Film.
it's like synonymous with those
Men
two.
Film. Oh,
It's
yeah.
that was hilarious fucking shit. I mean
most of In Living Color was hilarious. Think of Martin.
Martin, yep.
Martin Lawrence show, his stand up, his movies.
Yeah.
Martin hit the trifecta.
You know who I'm surprised you didn't name? Because I got to say he's in one of my top, like one of the top stand-ups and one of the top funniest people is Chris Rock.
Yeah, Chris Rock. Chris Rock was one of the first. I can't say Chris Rock because George Carlin was there, but Chris Rock really hit it to home, which is why I hit it to home on a lot of shit that I speak on nowadays, on that social commentary of looking inward before we look outward. He always had race as it wasn't a focal point, even though most of the times it was, but he had me think, and I remember too, it was that when I go to the ATM, you think I'm looking out for white people? Hell no, I'm looking out for niggas. There's a war in the black community, and it's between black people and niggas. And that was the first time I thought of that. I was like, what the fuck does he mean? Because it was funny. It was hilarious because the truth was there. But then the more I looked at it, it was like, God damn it. It's not just funny, but it's a real problem. But that's what I took from Chris Rock in regards to the social commentary. But no, I can't disagree. Chris Rock is I want to say he's in my top 10. But I grow nostalgic and I grow to the older dudes, the older cats. But then again, I came of age during that time. There's older cats before then. That's one thing you realize. The comics that you listen to, the comics that you used to listen to, even Red Fox, they had somebody they listened to. Don Rickles. What was his name? What was that Jerry guy? I don't think
Jerry
he did much.
Lewis.
Did he do much stand up though? He
I
did
think he
stand
was.
up.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that actually yesterday when I came to, and you look at the Don Rickles and the Jerry Lewises and all those guys. You look at this. There was people. They would do these roasts, and they've been trying to bring back the roasts for years. But the roast that you watch when the Rat Pack was there,
not there
the Rat Pack and all these people that were there, like. They try to sell these on like late night now where you can buy them in DVD. But a lot of these guys weren't stand-up comedians, but they were in front of an audience, and it was just them getting fucked up and smoking cigarettes and drinking and just busting each other's balls. And it was god fucking hilarious.
I feel like it was raw.
Dean
Martin.
Dean Martin. I think
Dean Martin was a singer, wasn't he?
Dean Martin was a singer, but like I think he hosted them, right? And I think there was just people there that weren't necessarily comedians, but they were funny as fuck.
Yeah.
And you just think of it. But anyway, I'm going to name my top 5.
Yeah, what's your top 5?
All right, so I'm gonna go with Chappelle. Chappelle personally, he's just like you like to talk about coming of age. I came the age of Dave Chappelle. The whole Sesame Street being a bad neighborhood was the funniest fucking thing I heard.
The Chappelle Show.
Yeah, and then I found out no, it wasn't even the Chappelle. He did it in his stand-up.
Oh, he did that in Killing Me
But
Softly.
when he put out the Chappelle Show, I have never seen anything like it. I thought it was amazing, and how many careers he launched and how many careers that he brought back was just there was nothing like it. And then I think he even solidified himself after the fact 2 years ago when he put out the I forget what it's called. Forgive me, the Bird Theory and the other one. So it's like 3 sets.
The Bird Revelation.
Yeah, he solidified himself. I mean, he may have even surpassed some of the greats like Pryor and Carlin, but like
you can't.
He's going to be up with those two. But like
it's like comparing Nas versus Jay-Z.
If you ask old guys, if you ask most people, they're going to throw, race aside, everything else aside. People are going to say it's neck and neck with Carlin and Pryor. I'm gonna throw that. I'm gonna throw my money on saying Chappelle may surpass them one day, or he's gonna be 3. But anyway, I'm gonna go with Chappelle. One of my other personal favorites, who I think
One.
deserves more credit, is Colin Quinn. Colin Quinn's one of those observational guys. His last 3 stand-ups, I think, were produced by Seinfeld. And there's this comparison what he does of like of the state of the world, of the history of the world, and he compares countries or nations to people.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very
He approaches it in a different
and
way.
it's not you're not sitting there pissing yourself laughing, but you're like, wow, that's an interesting spin on it.
That's
Ah.
great. It's great.
You know?
I watched his because of you. I watched his
Yeah.
Blue State, Red State. It was
Yeah,
interesting.
and
but
just hearing like this
continue
fucking
on, man. Don't
Irish
give
guy
a-
trail off and just
yeah.
fucking laugh.
Don't give a biop of all
Yeah.
of them though. Just you
All right,
got
so
2, 3
Chappelle,
more.
Colin Quinn, Jesus Christ. I want to say Pryor and the other dude there, but I've never watched their stand up. So Chris Rock's
You
got.
really can't say him.
All
Then.
right,
You're
so
just saying it
okay,
off of-
Chris. Okay, so Chappelle, Colin Quinn, Chris Rock, Jerry Seinfeld, and I got one more, right?
Yep.
Fuck, man, that's gonna be a hard one. Just you know what, I can't base it off that because it's 2 out of 5 movies. His other 5 movies, not that great in my opinion. I was gonna say Mel Brooks, but no,
Greatest comedians of all time.
No.
Mel Brooks.
no.
It's not even your era.
Yeah, I know, but
It's not even mine.
you know, and I love Young Frankenstein. I love History of the World. History of the World is my favorite movie, but I didn't like Blazing Saddles, and I loathe Spaceballs, so I can't do it. So I got one more fucking guy, or even girl.
There's no girls in it. Come on.
Roseanne. I'll throw Roseanne in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just because, not because she's
token one?
necessarily hilarious, but
You ever watch Roseanne stand up?
I've seen a little bit of her stand up, and I saw, you know what? I'm gonna get shot in the foot with these last 2, either Roseanne or Cosby. You pick, world.
Yeah,
Like you pick.
Cosby's in my top 10.
But like Roseanne, like again, that's one that's like, man, what you did culturally with the show and shit, that was pretty insane. So you got, and I did want, I'll give it to Roseanne, sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Just 'cause of the show.
It is what it is. I always give females, women their props when it's due, but it's far and few in between, and you find a lot of them. When you find the ones that do make it to that level, they go against the grain, and they can withstand a lot of. They got tougher skin in regards to just being in the business and dealing with men and whatnot. So that's why you just don't find.
I'll give it.
I can't throw too many women up there.
Neither can I, and
But
not because
definitely.
I'm being
Notice how the craziest thing is we've had this conversation and it's almost to an end, but we haven't brought up not one of the kings of comedy, so-called kings of comedy, which I don't have any problems with them, but it is what it is. And I love.
we didn't bring up the
D.L. Hughley.
we didn't bring up Blue Collar either.
I would have never brought Blue Collar, even though what's the guy?
Ron
Jeff-
White's good. The rest
Jeff
of them
Dunham.
is trash.
I like Ron White. Jeff Dunham, dude.
Jeff Foxworthy. You
Jeff,
mean?
there we go. Jeff Dunham. Jeff Dunham is the one
ventriloquist.
with the puppets. Yeah. I thought he was interesting at one point, but yeah, I put him in his own category though. That guy's very talented, Jeff Dunham.
Yeah, he's like in there
Jeff
with like Carrot
Foxworthy.
Top and all those outfits.
Jeff Foxworthy. He found himself a fucking niche, and he stuck to it, and I can't even hate him for that. That's like me. That's like a white dude watching D.L. Hughley or something. Just like somebody watching something that they'll say about their culture and they're cool. It's the same thing. You know you're a redneck if you do this, that. It's the same thing for a black dude watching Jeff Foxworthy. And I appreciate it because I was like, oh, he's looking at the faults, but they're not necessarily just faults, but he's like, hey, this is what we do. You know? I'm like, hey, boom. And he's not really necessarily, he's saying he's one of them, but at the same time, he's looking down at it too. So I enjoyed Jeff Foxworthy, but I just never clicked with him because that wasn't of my age. But in regards to GOC, like I came to the conclusion in regards to GOAT of rappers, there can be
Can't
none.
be.
Especially in comedy. There's too many different genres. There's too many different just people just out there. Like not just genres, but people where they're coming from. We're talking about white, black, especially nowadays, just so multicultural. Indian. Hannibal Buress, don't sleep. Very
Don't
intelligent.
sleep.
Dude.
We saw him live in stand up.
He was very good,
Great.
wasn't he?
What was
Best
surprising to
stand up
me?
I've ever seen was Paul Mooney, though. The people, white people, got up and left. I was like, oh shit,
I would have been like one of those white
this
people.
happens. No, you wouldn't.
I would have been one of those white people that was like a black person standing up, like waving his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, you
But
would've. You would've.
yeah, I got that. I got that problem in me. But
Don't worry.
you know what's
5 more years, you'll be
interesting?
conservative. So
I told you in the car. By in a couple of
Yeah.
years, I'm going to phase you out.
conservative audience won't accept you, but
No, they won't. Give him. It was like he did stuff for that Obama fella.
they'll start a birther movement about your career.
He
They'll be
shitted on Trump people.
Whoa, he wasn't.
He called Trump people pussies and losers
and losers.
and
Listen
Trump
to-
people losers
Listen, fella.
because they cried because their jobs were getting canceled instead of getting a job. They voted for a millionaire that was on TV. Anyway, I'm getting off topic, but yeah, fuck Trumpers and fuck outrage left. But anyway. That's what was the one thing about Hannibal Buress that I thought was really interested was the crowd that he drew. That's why the shit's universal. Because when we went in, it was me and you, and there was a bunch of like white hipsters there. It was very interesting because of his shit on Adult Swim on Comedy Central. I think it was.
When you do all these comedies, these stand-up shows and whatnot, especially when they're big, like what do you call it? When they're big, like we saw it. What was that? Foxwoods, where you went? I forget where you went. It was a casino place. But when you go to those type of venues in the city, you're just gonna get
No.
more white people.
Theater District in Boston.
No, we didn't go see Hannibal Buress in the theater district.
Yes,
in
we most
Boston.
certainly did.
No, we
We
didn't.
went to go see him at the fucking Wilbur.
No, we did not.
We
go
most
see
certainly
Hannibal.
did. We did not go to Connecticut to see Hannibal Buress.
You know what?
You're out of your mind.
I took my ex-wife there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I see how you can
I went to go
confuse
see.
me with
I
your
went to go
ex-wife.
see. Yeah,
We look a lot alike.
You're feminine.
Yeah, we
So,
have the same moments together. What the fuck?
You're totally right. I went in Foxwoods to go see Hannibal Buress with her, but then damn, we went to go see it at Wilbur. You're right. Wilbur
saw
Theater.
Bill Maher
I've seen him twice at Wilbur
Foxwoods.
Theater. But what we were getting at? What were we getting at?
Nothing.
GOC, like I said, man, there
That's it.
can be no GOC, but if there is a GOC, there's a lot of them.
No, undisputed, Gallagher. Gallagher, the greatest of all time.
What the fuck?
And
you're
number
talking
2, Gallagher 2, his brother.
about? His brother that he got into a lawsuit with the
That's
first Gallagher.
You know what's funnier than Gallagher is that fucking story. How he got in a lawsuit with his brother for the
Crazy.
That's
I think,
hilarious.
What did I listen to that? I listened to that. I got that from the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah, who was he talking to? Alonzo Bowden about that?
Was
it
it
Alonzo?
Alonzo? I think it was somebody else, but
They were sitting there killing themselves laughing.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was funny. I think it was Alonzo Bowden.
Gallagher was very good. He was entertaining as well, but he was more visual, more props. I feel like the more props you need to use, the attention span of the crowd you need to keep more. This is why like social commentary, the ones that have to make you think, the higher IQs like Dave Chappelle, Seinfeld, it's like reading a good book.
Yeah.
Lords of Apathy.